Shalom. This week's Torah portion is Parashat Eikev, the third portion of the book of Deuteronomy, Sefer Dvarim, beginning in chapter 7 and verse 12. One outstanding feature of our Torah portion this week is its striking praise of the land of Israel. We read, "For Hashem your God is bringing you to a good land, a land with streams of water, of springs and underground water coming forth in valley and mountain, a land of wheat, barley, grape, fig and pomegranate, a land of olive oil and date honey, a land where you will eat bread not out of poverty, you will lack nothing there, a land whose stones are iron and from whose mountains you will mine copper." Moshe's descriptions convey feelings of thanksgiving and appreciation, of desire and awe, and a certain high pathos and poetic irony do they evoke as well. For in his words we can feel Moshe's own desire and love of the land, to which he is denied entry by divine design. But yet, he did not allow that denial of his personal entry to have any bearing on his own urgent mission to prepare his people for that day, soon to come, when they would be coming into the good land without him. Moshe was concerned about that day. He was wary for the nation's future in the land, when he would not be there for them. Numerous times throughout these Torah portions in our book of Deuteronomy, we find that Moshe warns the nation of Israel about dangers that he suspects the people could fall prey to when they enter the land. One concern is that the pagan nations whom God instructs them to drive out will have a bad influence on them, and they'll learn from their reprehensible idolatrous ways. But another apprehension of Moshe's, which is greatly emphasized here in the portion of Eikev, focuses precisely on the challenge that will result from the great bountiful blessing of the land itself. There will be such abundance, the land will be blessed with such plenty, that the people might easily forget Hashem and become haughty, developing some sort of misplaced self-confidence in their own ability. Take care lest you forget Hashem your God by not observing his commandments, Moshe tells them here, lest you eat and be satisfied, and you build good houses and settle. Your cattle and your gold and everything that you will have will increase, and your heart will become haughty, and you will forget Hashem your God. And you may say in your heart, my strength and the might of my hand made me all this wealth. He's saying, like Pharaoh, you might find yourself saying, God? God who? This is all about me. And then continues Moshe in these verses, you shall remember Hashem your God, that it was he who gave you strength to make wealth in order to establish his covenant that he swore to your fathers as this day. Of all the verses praising the land, one short phrase succinctly sums it all up. In chapter 8 and verse 9, we read the words, you will lack nothing there. But this sentence is featured here not only to emphasize the greatness of the land of Israel, but also to explain the reason for the great danger that Moshe foresees. Why should a lack of nothing present a great danger? So open up your heart. In the desert, the children of Israel were led by the Holy One, blessed be he. He guided their every step. Their food was provided for them every day from heaven. The water that they drank from the well of Miriam and from the rock, it was all a miracle. Meat was provided for them from quails, which arrived at their camp on a divinely directed wind. They were shaded from the sun by the clouds of glory, and their military victories were orchestrated by God alone, having nothing to do with their ability or lack thereof. In short, the people themselves barely did a thing. Hashem did everything for them, and they could see that. And so naturally, their connection with Hashem was clear to them. They felt the need for Hashem in their lives so strongly it was a no-brainer. True, their human nature perhaps occasionally got the better of them from time to time, giving way to complaining, as people will do. But still they knew that everything was coming from God. They understood that Hashem himself was feeding them from his table, that he alone was providing for their every need and for the needs of their children. Look at the journeys of the children of Israel that we learnt about back in Parashat Baalotcha, in the book of Numbers, chapter 9. In those journeys, every man, woman, and child could clearly see that it was Hashem himself who was transporting them. The cloud would rise and begin to move. Moshe would sound the trumpet, and they would travel. When the cloud came to rest, they would stop in a new place, sometimes for a day, sometimes staying for a month or a year. The itinerary and schedule of their journeys was exclusively set by the Creator, and no human being could intervene or have any influence on the direction or outcome of a journey. But what happens when they get to the land of Israel? this whole unique godly arrangement ceases, the presence of Hashem in every nuance of their lives, which had been as clear as day, is now hidden over by human endeavor. And every aspect of the people's lives is infused with a very human dynamic. Every tribe receives its portion, every individual builds a goodly house, as the verse tells us, and eats and is full. And then, open up your heart in the deepest way, the danger is that a person will lose faith in God. And you may say in your heart, my strength and the might of my hand made me all this wealth. You will forget that it's all Hashem. It is God who gives you the power to accomplish anything and everything. When you can see as plain as day that everything is coming from Hashem, then it's easy to remember that everything comes from Hashem. He splits the sea, he brings down the manna, he sweeps the quail in on a wind, he brings forth water from a rock. But when a person himself plants and tends to his field and raises his crops and reaps the fruit of his own labor, this is actually a very big test, because he's liable to look at himself and he thinks, this is all me. Look at what I've been able to accomplish. Look what I have become. I did it all. I did it all myself. God who? So open up your heart deeper than ever before in your life, because it's the same thing, this test, for everyone. When we make a discovery in science, or an achievement in technology, or in medicine, or when a cure is invented, or when a person succeeds in their particular field of endeavor and accomplishes and amasses wealth, or when an army is victorious, you'll say in your heart, my strength and the might of my hand accomplished all this, not God. Obviously, I'm not dependent on God, duh. Don't you see what I've done on my own? Moshe foresees this danger. And this is one of the secrets of the commandment of Birkat HaMazon, the grace after meals that we recite after partaking of a satisfying meal. This is one of the mitzvot aseh, one of the positive commandments whose source is in this week's Torah portion. Chapter 8 and verse 10 commands us, you will eat and you will be satisfied, and you shall bless Hashem your God for the good land that he gave you. This prayer is the expression of a person's obligation to acknowledge the Creator for the sustenance which keeps one alive. And it's an acknowledgement that everything is provided by God and is within his providence. But open up your heart. This is a major difference between the Birkat HaMazon prayers of thanks after eating and other blessings that are associated with food, which are recited before the food is eaten. Before we eat, it's also an acknowledgement. But it's when a person is full that he can forget Hashem, feeling like he doesn't need him anymore. I'm doing very well on my own. I can get by on my own power. Look at the verse again. Its simple meaning is so deep. You will eat and you will be satisfied, and you shall bless Hashem your God. It's when you eat and are satisfied, when you feel that satisfaction, when you are full and your ego is as satiated as is your belly, that's when you may descend into this mindset of, I did all this. So we are therefore commanded, you will eat and you will be satisfied. And that is exactly when you need to bless Hashem your God for the good land that he gave you. Being satisfied is a greater test than being hungry. It's the hardest time to remember God. But how ironic, because it's all from him. So Moshe foresees this danger and reminds us, there will be great bounty, a plethora of material blessing, but your test will be in how you will react to this bounty. You'll need to remember that it's the Creator who's given you everything, and not allow your heart to grow haughty. It's the same thing for each of us, for all of us, every day and everywhere. When we are full of ourselves, prosperity is so becoming. When you finally have what you need, it's a challenge to remember that it's God who's guiding your steps. In their desert travels, the children of Israel journeyed and rested by the mouth of God, by divine direction. But once the nation entered the land in everyday life, every person continued their life journey, but each on their own, ostensibly no longer accompanied by divine directional signals of when to travel and when to stop. One had to make one's own decisions and arrive at one's own conclusions, because ostensibly there are no longer readily discernible signs from heaven of how to proceed. Or are there? The deepest truth is that we believe that all of our journeys are still from Hashem, that he is the one directing and guiding us. But open up your heart like you've never opened it before in your whole life, because when I am consciously depending on Hashem for everything, it's easy to remember him. But when it seems to me that it's me that's making a living, that it's me that's doing all the work, doing everything, that it's me that's building a home and winning a war, inventing something new and exciting, revealing all my own power and strength, that's when I have to remember, from whom did I receive the wisdom and the strength and the ability and the direction? Then to remember and continue to believe that it's really Hashem who enables me to do everything. That is a very great challenge. Moshe Rabbeinu, our great teacher, is very wary of the transition from the era during which the people saw how they received everything directly from Hashem to the period when they will be given the tools and the opportunity to create for themselves and to succeed. And in their success, a very great danger hides in waiting: haughtiness, self-aggrandizement, the illusion of self-reliance, forgetting that everything is Hashem, of Hashem, by Hashem, and that at every moment, at every instant, it is He who empowers our success, providing our sustenance and blessing and guiding our every step. Shalom. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being a part of the Jerusalem Lights community. May we constantly remember that all the challenges and the blessings in our lives are all from God, and it's God alone who directs our steps and guides us. Shabbat Shalom.